Welcome everybody to the EF Go Ahead Tours Travel Talk Tuesday. We're going to give everybody just a couple more minutes to join us. Thank you everybody for joining us now. We're so happy to have you for our journey through the UK and Ireland. While we wait for everybody to join us, please shout out in the chat or in the comments section where you're dialing in from. We'd love to hear from you. Linda and Paul from Plymouth, welcome. Mary in Columbus, Jennifer from Chicago, we're happy to have you today. Patty in Toronto, welcome. Thanks for dialing in from Canada. Deborah from Washington, Peter in New York, Val from Nebraska, welcome. Cynthia in Rhode Island, great New England representation today. Happy to have you. Karen from Winnipeg, thank you for joining us. Renee from Pittsburgh, thanks for joining us today. Ellen from North Carolina, we're glad to have you. Jan from Tampa Bay, Florida. Martha from Minnesota, my home state. Welcome, Martha. Bob and Linda from Irvine, California. Thanks for joining us today. Mariola from Poland. Thank you so much for being with us today. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Like I said, we are happy to have you today. My name is Andy. I work in the EF Go Ahead Tours Boston office. We're excited to have you on our journey through the UK and Ireland. Just a few quick housekeeping notes here. Our travel talk today is in a webinar format, and what that means is that you will only see me and our guest here. We won't see or hear you, but we'd still love to hear from you. So if you're dialing in on Zoom, please feel free to use the Q&A feature in the bottom of your Zoom window to submit your questions. If you're joining us on Facebook, you can please use the comments section to send us your questions. We'd love to hear from you. We also have some pre-submitted questions that we will incorporate throughout the presentation. But in the next hour, our expert tour director, Lynn, will take you on a virtual journey through the top 10 destinations in the UK and Ireland and what you'll see there. Near the end, we'll share with you some of our tours and ways that you can travel to the UK and Ireland with Go Ahead. Thank you so much for being with us here today, Lynn. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you love showing Go Ahead travelers around the UK and Ireland.
Well, hello, everyone. I'm very, very happy to be with you today. And I thank you for inviting me to talk about the UK and Ireland tours. Before we begin, I would like to say that I've been with Go Ahead for the past about 15 years, I think, touring in various tours in various countries. But I know that we've all been through a very, very hard time, the past pandemic that we had, and I know that you're all starting to have itchy feet and want to get back on the road again. So here we are. So here's a chance for you to see these wonderful tours and start booking with us. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to have you, Lynn. So for those of you who may not know the area super well, the UK and Ireland are a cluster of islands northwest of mainland Europe that are full of history, rugged landscapes, delicious food, and friendly people. You can soak in Georgian architecture while listening to bagpipes in Edinburgh. You can sip a Guinness in Glasgow, cruise the lochs in the Scottish Highlands, or maybe even spy the Queen in London. There's so much that these countries have to offer. Lynn, can you tell us a little bit more about where we'll be traveling with you today?
Yes, as you said, Andy, we've got the British Isles, which includes England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, and all the islands around the British Isles. Then we also talk about the UK, United Kingdom, which is just England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. And then separate, we come to Ireland, which is the Republic of Ireland, and of course we'll be visiting there as well. So that's why it's very difficult. A lot of people ask me, what is the difference between the Great Britain and what is the difference between the United Kingdom? I hope that made it a little clear. And as we're traveling around, you're going to see it'll become more clear, actually.
Thanks so much for clearing that up, Lyn. We appreciate it. That's a great way to start. So let's dive into the top 10 destinations, starting with Liverpool. Liverpool is the UK's 5th largest city. It's situated in the northwest of England. It's famous for being the birthplace of the Beatles, football clubs, soccer here in the States, and a vibrant nightlife. So Lyn, please tell us what you like to show travelers when they go to Liverpool.
Well, we've chosen Liverpool as a number 10 destination. It is a lively, vibrant city. It's the 5th largest city, as you said, in the United Kingdom. It is actually, it became fame in the Victorian times because of its warehouses and its trade with the Caribbean. And there you can see magnificent storehouses on the River Mersey. This is a picture of the River Mersey and that lovely bridge going across, which joins Birkenhead and Liverpool. And here we have one of the most iconic pictures of Liverpool. It's the Liver building. And walking in front of it, we have, of course, the Fab Four. This is one of the reasons that people do go to Liverpool, I must admit, because the Mersey Beat came out in the 60s. Everybody loves their music, and I'm sure everybody knows the Beatles. And here you can see them still walking the streets of Liverpool. So if you'd like to go on a Beatles tour, learn about their lives, how they started, then please go to the Experience and have a drink at the Cavern here, which you can see in this street. But I must just want to say that the Beatles gave us a great inspiration of working class people becoming very famous. So in the 60s, I grew up with the Beatles, and I was lucky enough to actually experience the Mersey Beat and the music that came out of Liverpool. So it's a great city and vibrant city for music and for art as well. Now here, this is the dock area that is just around the corner actually from our hotel. And this is the Royal Albert Dock. These amazing, huge buildings have been turned into, renovated and turned into museum areas, restaurants, bars, great shopping here as well. And so this is one place where we actually visit at night, and it's become a great attraction for locals and also for tourists as well in Liverpool. That's called the Royal Albert Dock.
Thanks, Lyn. And we've got a pre-submitted question here from Robert. Robert's curious, when is the best time to travel in England?
Best time to travel in England is all year round. You're welcome anytime at all. Remember, England is a vibrant country, and working people, working cities, busy all year round. It's universities full of universities as well, so we've got students everywhere. Anytime you can come. Remember about the weather, it doesn't matter if it rains or if it's cold. With global warming, it doesn't really matter because all the seasons are changing. So we can come all year round to England. It's ideal. Everything is open. The buses are running, the trains are running. We don't shut up shop at all here in England.
Oh, I love that. The best time is any time. That's wonderful. Popping on here, we're going to hop across to Northern Ireland. And if you're looking for somewhere to nourish your spirit, Northern Ireland is it. Epic landscapes, lively music, and history await travelers there. Lyn, tell us more about what travelers can expect in Northern Ireland.
Yes, now from Liverpool, we're crossing over the Irish Sea and we're going to Northern Ireland. Now, Northern Ireland belongs to the UK. It's a sovereign state, so it belongs to the UK. And from here, we come to the city of Belfast, which of course is the capital. Now, Belfast is a multicultural city. It's a fun city and it's busy. It's a working city. It came into its fore in the Victoria era when the ports were built and the shipyards were built as well. It used to be the hub of all of Europe. And here we can see the Titanic building. So one of the places we actually visit, and it's a must to visit, is the Titanic building. This is where it was launched from. It is actually built on the slipway where she was built and she was launched. And the experience here tells the story from the beginning to end of the Titanic. As you know, she sank in 1912 when she hit an iceberg. Very sad story, but I'm sure you've all seen the film as well. And here inside, you can hear it being built. It's quite a lovely experience. Hear the banging of the rivets. You can smell the smouldering of the metals being soldered together. You can view the staterooms, walk down that fantastic staircase that was on the ship, of course. And it is quite an experience to actually be inside, and you learn a lot as well. Now, if you get tired of the Titanic and then you just want to go for somewhere which is very peaceful, it's wonderful to go to the Botanical Gardens. These are right in the centre of Belfast, and you can wander around and sit and have a look at the beautiful palm house there. That's a Victorian building, and it is amazing to actually go and sit and see all the exotic plants and flowers that are inside. Very beautiful, very tranquil in the centre of Belfast. And then again here, well, if you want something more lively, you go back to this wonderful Crown Liquor Saloon Bar. This is one of the oldest bars in Belfast. It's very traditional. As you can see the mahogany booths, and those are, we call them the little snugs there. So you can actually sit and have a sip and have a drink and watch the world go by. You can't see them, they can see you. You can't see them, they can see you. Okay, and it's famed for its decor there. And actually, this is just around the corner from our hotel as well. Lovely place to go and see. One of the oldest pubs in Belfast.
We have another pre-submitted question here from Susan. Susan would like to know, from the places we've seen so far, which add-on excursions would you recommend, Lyn?
Well, if you're in Northern Ireland, then of course one of the greatest and the best excursions that you can go on is to the #1 destination in Northern Ireland, which is Giant's Causeway. You take a tour. You can go up to the northern part of Ireland, and as you can see here, it's a phenomenal area. It's a spectacular area, and you can actually see these 40,000 balsite columns here, and they go all the way down to the beach, all the way up the mountain. You can see more here in this picture, and they can actually go under the sea. There are lots of myths about this place, and as you probably know, as there are many myths in Ireland, a giant was apparently building this causeway because he wanted to go and fight another giant in Scotland. And so the Scottish giant built his causeway and the Irish built his. They met, or they didn't, they run away, and the whole thing collapsed. And this is the result of actually them doing that. Now, this is only one of those myths. There are many myths in Ireland, lots about the fairies and et cetera, which you'll hear along the way. But it's a spectacular place to go and see. There is a shuttle bus which takes you down to the beach, but you can actually walk it as well, and a wonderful visitor centre there. So it is a really, really worthwhile place to visit. It's one of the wonders of the world. It is absolutely beautiful.
Absolutely breathtaking.
Yes,
moving onward here, we're on to York, and they say that every era has left traces on York. Lyn, can you give us a taste of what York has to offer?
Yes, well, now we leave from Ireland, from Northern Ireland, and we go right across the water. So we are in central northern part of England here. Now, I chose this because it's the oldest walled city in England. It has seen so much of its history in time, from Roman times, Norman times, civil war, intrigue of the kings and queens. A lot of you know about the Wars of the Roses. This is the House of York here. And they were all fighting for the throne of England. And this here is York Minster, the largest cathedral in Europe, built in the 1200s. It's proud and towering and dominates the whole skyline of York. It's a Gothic cathedral, and it's very beautiful inside as well. And it has the largest stained glass window in the world inside. So it's really worth a little walk inside to sit, pray, and experience the ambience of it. And then if walking through the town, you can go to the Clifford's Tower. Now this actually is the remains of the Norman castle, William the Conqueror. in 1066 invaded England, and this is one of the castles that he built. And this portion here is the only part that is left from the castle, and it remains because it remains a memory of the importance of the defeat and the cruelty and the recovery, and it shows the power that the Normans had in England in that time. Well worth a visit to go and see that. And here you have the remains of the Roman walls. So we see different parts of history in York. It's all combined. And here we have the Roman walls, and it's really lovely to actually walk along the Roman walls and walk around most of the city. And you can see those lovely little the post boxes there, which you can see that's where you post your letters. Our post boxes are red in England. A beautiful area which actually leads then into the shambles, which is the medieval part. This is the shambles, and this is where everybody goes for a nice glass of wine or a pub or a drink or shopping. Handicraft shopping is beautiful inside, medieval, and it's extremely lively at night, let me tell you. So this is where a lot of the students, because it's a university city, this is where a lot of the students would go in the evening, and tourists as well. So very, very nice place. York is a beautiful city.
Sounds like a blast. On to our 7th destination here. Built for pleasure and relaxation, beautiful Bath has been a well-being destination since the Roman times. Lynn, why did Bath make the top 10?
Well, Bath gives an absolute example of the elegance of certain parts of England and of English society. As you're coming down from York, you're driving south and you come to Bath, and Bath is on the edge of the Cotswolds. Now, the Cotswolds is an area where, of course, we go to see the Shakespeare country. Stratford-upon-Avon is there in the Cotswolds. So we pass Stratford and then we come down to Bath. But Bath shows its elegance. It has beautiful architecture. It was built by the Romans. These baths here, and this is why a lot of people come to Bath, just actually to see this magnificent Roman baths. They were built in the 70 AD. They were for public use. They are not anymore, of course, and they were used until the time of the Roman Empire finished here in the UK. But they are very beautiful to actually go and have a look around. We've also got Bath Abbey, built in the 7th century. It's a magnificent abbey, and it was restored by Elizabeth I. It was a pilgrim centre and also a religious centre. Well worth having a look at one of these wonderful abbeys in the centre of the cities. And here we have the most magnificent view of the Royal Crescent. It was built in the 1700s, and here we have a crescent form, and it was 30 Georgian houses here. Lots of royalty stayed in these houses. They were entertained here. So that's why it's taken on the Royal Crescent, given the name the Royal Crescent. It's an iconic landmark, and it shows the royal elite that were here, the people that live here, this elegance. And I'm sure that a lot of you are thinking, where on earth have I seen that before? And if you have watched Bridgerton, of course, it is the backdrop of Bridgerton. Very, very beautiful. And carrying on with its elegance of Bath, Bath is a very, very beautiful city. Here is the Jane Austen. I popped in the Jane Austen Museum because this again shows the Regency style. And if any of you have seen Pride and Prejudice or Emma or Sense and Sensibility or read any of Jane Austen's books, then you will recognize all that is in it about the intrigues of marriage, looking for a husband, of the elite of this time. And it's well worth visiting this wonderful place to see and to have this experience. Jane Austen, of course, lived in Bath, and that's why this is here.
Moving onward here, I had the privilege of visiting the Scottish Highlands in October, and man, I couldn't pick my jaw up off the floor most of the time that I was there. Lynn, I'm curious, in the sprawling Highlands, what would you pick as the must-see destinations?
Well, now we're going up north and crossing over the border and going into Scotland. And the Highlands, I know, are a marvelous place. They are wonderful. They're beautiful. And as you said, Andy, they're exceptional there. Why I've chosen it is because a lot of people and practically everybody wants to go to the Highlands. It is stunningly beautiful. It is scenic. You have the lochs. Now, let me explain about the lochs. The lochs, L-O-C-H, are lakes. Lakes in England, lochs in Scotland. We also have lochs in Ireland, but it's L-O-U-G-H. That's how different spelling, but they call them lochs, they're lakes. There are traditional villages, towns. This one here is Inverness. And as you can see, very beautiful, laid back. This used to be the hub of the whole of the Highlands here. And it's a tourist attraction. People come and stay here and then bounce off, of course, to the Highlands and visit the Highlands. And they've got these beautiful stone buildings, which are made of the honey stone, which is mined nearby. There's an indoor Victorian market and there's a museum. There's plenty to do in this lovely little village of Inverness. And here, sitting on Loch Ness, one of the lochs, this is one of the most famous lochs, everybody knows Loch Ness, we have Urgot Castle. It's a 13th century castle. It is absolutely beautiful, peaceful, prettily sitting on the edge of Loch Ness, as you can see. To me, it holds an awful lot of secrets and many a story it could tell. And what about the Loch Ness monster, whether it exists or not? And from there, we actually depart on our cruise. When we do a cruise on Loch Ness, we actually depart from there. It's absolutely beautiful, seeing if we can spot Nessie in the water or not. Loch Ness is the second largest loch. It's a freshwater lake and it's the deepest in Europe. There's also a visitor centre there for Nessie. Here we have Loch Lomond, and you know the song, or you'll take the highway and I'll take the low way, etc. On the bonny banks of Loch Lomond. We shall sing it when we're all together. And it's a very beautiful area again, another loch, but this is a busier because it's ideal for water sports, canoeing, boating again. And there you can see Ben Nevis, which is the highest mountain in Scotland there as well. So the Highlands are full of lochs, full of castles, as you can see, and this is Eileandonna, again, 13th century. It's built on a tidal island, and it's where 3 lochs join together, intermingle, and it used to belong to the clan Mackenzie. This is one of the most photographed and filmed castles in Scotland. And so very, very beautiful. And now we're going to go back up to Inverness, because we're talking about the clans. And this is it, where we go to Culloden. And this is where we had the terrible, terrible battle, 16th of April, 1746, where an awful lot of clan people, men, died. This is the place where father fought son, brother fought brother. They were all on opposing sides. It's where the English army fought with the clans and bonnie Prince Charlie. Of course, the clans unfortunately lost and history was made, the English won. And so all the clans after that were dispersed. But it's a wonderful place to go. And of course, if you have seen Outlander or Braveheart, then you might have experienced all of this and visited these places here. It's a wonderful place to actually go. And we pay our respects to the fallen. Lots of different clans there. And then after that, where do we go? We go right across over the sea to Skye. And Skye is a most beautiful area. It is the largest, island in the Hebrides. And here, as you can see, it is so tranquil, it is so beautiful, beautiful scenery. And on the right-hand side, you can see the Twin Peaks. That's Old Man's Store. They are like reaching up to the skies. They seem to have been there forever. And then you can listen to the sound of the waterfall falling over the cliffs into the sea. This is a wonderful place that if you want a holiday to get away from it all, this is where you come. It's very good for your wellness and for your health. It is absolutely stunningly beautiful. Beautiful beaches there as well. And to my favorite, one of my favorites, This is absolutely superb. Look here, we've got the Highland Cattle. They're seen everywhere. They're iconic of the Highlands. You will see them. Friendly long horde, hardiest breed because they have to survive those terrible winters up there. They have long shaggy coats, as you can see, and they've got double coats. They've also got those lovely horns coming up here, but they also have extra long eyelashes. That is something good because they have to protect their eyes against the elements, of course. And these are all rustic cattle. Now they all come in all sizes, not shapes and sizes, sorry, they all come in different colors. They come in ginger, they come in red, they come in brown, white, silver, and also black. And to me, it reflects the changing seasons of the Highlands, all those different colors, the rustic colors. And Queen Victoria loved the ginger ones. And so that's why we see an awful lot of ginger ones around, more than the other colors, because she loved them. And our Queen, who is up at Balmoral in the wintertime, you know, she has the estate of Balmoral. She actually has many of them, but she has all different colors up there. They're beautiful, beautiful animals. And they're very friendly as well. So you don't have to be afraid of them. They're wonderful.
So adorable. Hopping back across the water here, County Kerry contains some of Ireland's most iconic scenery. Lyn, aside from the cliffs and the emerald farmland, what makes County Kerry so special to you?
Well, now we're going back over to Ireland, and this time we're going to the Republic of Ireland, going to Southern Ireland, the Republic. And this is where, of course, you spend your euros because they're in the part of the European Union. It's absolutely beautiful. I'm from Wales, actually, and I had never been to Ireland in all my life. And then suddenly I started touring. I started to do tours with Go Ahead, and I was totally, totally blown away by the landscape, by the people, by the music, by the greenery. And that I could understand then why it was called the Emerald Isles. It's like a painting of patchwork quilts everywhere. It is so traditional. And one thing I love is that it keeps its traditions. It's got its traditions of music. It's also got its language. And this is where you're going to hear Gaelic spoken a lot. It is a wonderful place to actually go. We go around the Ring of Kerry, which is very famous. A lot of you want to see the Ring of Kerry. It's got the National Park. We go to lots of lakes. Here's a lake, but we call it a loch in Ireland. And we see waterfalls. It's a totally nature paradise there. It is absolutely wonderful. And then we go around to the Dingle, which is the second peninsula in the area. This is the Dingle, slightly different from the Ring of Kerry. The Ring of Kerry is lush and green and lovely trail walks and small traditional villages. And here in the Dingle, as you can see, magnificent views, beautiful coastline. This was a beautiful day, which we do have beautiful days in Ireland. It doesn't rain all the time. Don't believe that. And here you actually go down, and this is right at the tip. It's called the Dinquin place, and you can look out and you can see the Blasket Isles. Now I've added the Blasket Isles on here because they are the last inhabited islands. All the inhabitants left in 1953. And as you can see, the houses are derelict. Everybody is standing, everything is standing alone there. But it's a very beautiful windswept area there. And I wanted to show you that because that's a great example of, we also see the famine houses, how the people died. They left their homes or they emigrated to the States or to Canada. And this is what we actually see there. We see a lot of these places like this. Very, very interesting. This is the Blasket Isles. Nobody lives there, but you can actually visit by boat. And then we come on to the Skellig Islands. These I popped on because they are so beautiful. We can hardly see them when we're on the bus going down the Dingle. We have a game and see who can see the Skellig Islands first, and the first one can take a prize example, because they are magnificent here. Nobody lives on them, they stand alone, but they are the homes of the gannets and the puffins. And this is where the colonies are. Thousands and thousands of migrating birds gather here. This is their breeding ground, and they actually live here. And they live in total isolation, actually, away from everybody. And they have a lot of peace and quiet. Absolutely beautiful islands there. So that's the Skelligs.
As we're touring around Ireland specifically, we have to know, Peter's curious as well, how do you make an Irish coffee? Lynn, can you tell us our ingredients list and how you can make an Irish coffee?
Yes, well, one of the things that we do have is an Irish coffee when we are touring around, because sometimes it's a little cold, etc. So we have to have a beautiful Irish coffee, as you can see here. Now, to make an Irish coffee, first of all, I have an example here. You have a little tot of whiskey, which you put into one of your glasses. Inside there, then you top it up with hot water and a little bit of sugar if you want. And then there is a special way of making that milk or the cream stay at the top. So you can actually turn your spoon around like this, and you pour your cream over the back of the spoon, and it goes around like that, and then that forms the cream thickness at the top. It is absolutely delicious, and if you don't like whiskey, then of course you can have it with Baileys, which is super nice.
That'll warm you up on a chilly day, or any day for that matter. Moving on, staying in Ireland, though, we are going to be going to County Galway and County Clare. Galway City specifically is situated so well, it's the perfect base to explore the wide range of attractions dotted outside of the city. Lynn, I'm curious what made you put County Galway and County Clare in the number 4 slot?
Well, here we are going up the west coast of Ireland, and I think that County Galway and County Clare comes first, and then County Galway as we're heading north. But they're border countries, they border, and they share different aspects of different tourist attractions. They are two beautiful counties that we actually pass through, both of them being part of the Wild Atlantic Way, which is the coastline which has been mapped out of all of the Republic of Ireland. It is 2,600 kilometers long. Every single little cove and cranny has been measured, and so it is beautiful. It gives the tourist a chance to walk, you experience. There's a lot of water sports along the Wild Atlantic Way, and as you can see, looking out to sea, it is really spectacular. And right across that water, if you think, is America. So you can stand on the top as we go to the Cliffs of Moher, and we can hear the Cliffs of Moher, and there's a pathway walking all the way along the top. This is a lovely, lovely tour that we actually walk along. You can stay on the pathway, it's safe, you can stay on the pathway, and there are rangers all the way along. You can ask them, you can talk to them, chat to them. They're there for our security and our protection, and also our information. They give an awful lot of information there. And you can see the cave, which is just down there. We can actually do boat tours. It's lovely to go down there, go in that cave, and that cave was used in one of Harry Potter's films. It was filming there. So great filming locations here. And as you're standing out on these pathways above the Cliffs of Moher, you can just look out to sea, and you can think what people had thought all these years ago of thinking of their loved ones across the water, or maybe they were longing to go across the water to America. So it's a lovely place to actually go. There's a fantastic visitor center there where they have interactive displays. You can actually go and watch a couple of films, and there's a lovely film where they've got cameras on the birds, and they film the birds flying throughout the rocks and then landing and nesting. It is absolutely marvelous. It's wonderful. It's one of the best, I think, visitor centres that I've seen in Ireland. And of course, it's wonderful to shelter there on a blustery day. So when the elements are coming down and the rain is coming down, of course, it's lovely to actually spend some time inside. They have a restaurant and a fantastic souvenir shop for you to buy your little puffins or anything that you would like to buy. It's a wonderful place. It's a total feeling of freedom when you're up on the top there, looking out across the wild Atlantic Way. And then we come on, the next one is the Barron. This is an exceptional area. What can I say? We walk on the Barron. When you walk on it, you can feel the energy coming through the rock. It is millions of years old. It's limestone landscape, and it was formed through the Ice Age, of course. Here is a dolma. You can see that's 5,800 years old. And also 70% of Ireland's plant species grow here, from the Mediterranean species to the Arctic to the tropical species. You can see them dotted around, but remember, you must not pick them. Please do not pick them. There's a warning everywhere. Please do not pluck the flowers. I know they look so beautiful, but please do not pick them. And it is also part of the national park. It's a protected area, and so great walking trails here. You come across the ruined monasteries, hermit huts, etc., and then you lead down to the sea, where you can go down to a beautiful traditional village of Dublin, is quite near, and there you can listen to the beautiful Irish music and see some dancing and experience the traditional life of Ireland, which is wonderful. And then we go north, we go further up north, and here we go into County Galway. Now this is Galway City. Galway City is so vibrant, as you can see. It is a moving city, never sleeps, I don't think it does. Lots of music, lots of street performers here. So as you're walking down the street, you see them dancing. The Irish dancers, you see somebody playing the harp, you see the musicians. Lots of wonderful pubs and bars down here. Great seafood restaurants in this area, and this walks all the way down to the Spanish arches, because the Spanish used to come in. They used to bring wine in from Spain for the monasteries, and then it would load up and take marble from the Connemara marble quarries back to Spain. This is Connemara here, a view of Connemara, another beautiful national park. Lovely fishing villages down on the coast, fir trees, as you can see, barren mountains, and lots of sheep. But here we also see a lot of bog area. So 70% of the land is bogs. Now, bogs, they cut the peat, and the peat in olden days is burnt on the fires, was burnt on the fires. It gives off a special aroma. And when you're visiting a lot of places, the tourist attractions, they burn the peat and you can actually smell it. It's beautiful, but to me, it is very homely and protective smell. They burnt in their fires to keep them warm in the famine times or in the cold winters. They burnt it on and they boiled their kettles for their tea and they did their cooking with it. So they managed to survive through those eras because of the peat, which is still cut today. And then as we're coming through the Connemara, we're still driving north, and we're going to come around a bend, and we see this most magnificent fairy style breathtaking estate, which is Causeway Abbey. This is really well worth visiting. It is so beautiful. An English industrialist came here on his honeymoon, and his wife loved the area so much that he decided to build her this wonderful mansion. What a wonderful wedding present, you could say. Yes, it is. And we actually do tours inside. You can walk inside, see the reception rooms. It is now looked after by the Benedictine nuns. And you can actually, there's only, I think, 9 or 10 of them. And you can actually see them walking around, and you can stop and talk to them and chat to them. They're very, very friendly. There is also a beautiful, on this estate, there's a very beautiful walled garden where you can take a shuttle bus or you can walk all the way up to this beautiful Victorian walled garden, and it's full of glass houses with beautiful plants and specimens, lots of walkways around, and lovely trails as well. So it is a perfect day out at Causeway Abbey, which is lovely.
How beautiful. Well, Lynn, we've made it to our top 3 destinations here, and everyone, I think anyway, everyone who goes to Dublin should really consider cozying up with a Guinness in a pub. But aside from the lively pub culture, what direction do you point travelers in, Lynn?
Well, here is Dublin. Dublin is a very vibrant, lively city. It's on the River Liffey, as we can see here. This is the Halfpenny Bridge, which is one of the many bridges which actually crosses over the Liffey. It was originally started by the Vikings. It was a Viking settlement here, full of history. It's also got the new and it's also got the old. It has a wonderful lifestyle in Dublin, and we're always very, very busy in Dublin. So here you have a picture of the Trinity College, which is a very famous, built by Elizabeth I, based, as you can see, a little bit on the Oxford, Cambridge style architecture. Lots of students are here. It's a wonderful campus. It's one of the many campuses, let's say. And inside we've got the Book of Kells. So if you want to see the Book of Kells, then you can come into this wonderful library. Look at this. It's a magnificent library, housing about 200,000 old manuscripts and books. I think there are more than 7 million books in the whole place, used for research work and to keep them there under lock and key, of course. It's absolutely beautiful. But if you do want to go to see the Book of Kells, you go inside here. And the Book of Kells, of course, as you might know, it's the illuminated illustration book of the Gospels, of the Christian Gospels. And it is a national treasure. It is absolutely a wonderful to go and see that. 9th century, it was brought actually to Trinity in 1600s and put on display there. And as I said, it is a marvelous thing to see. But if you do want to book, then do book online, because there is a ticket to actually see it. And here is St. Patrick's. Now, religion has always been very important in Ireland. So you've got the Catholic Church and also the Anglican Church. You've got St. Patrick's and also Christ Church. Now, we on our tour, we actually can't go inside here to St. Patrick's. And this is where Jonathan Swift, you probably heard of Jonathan Swift, who wrote Gulliver's Travels. This is where he was dean, and this is where he lived. And this is also where he's buried. So we have a visit to this wonderful cathedral right in the middle of Dublin. Now, if you are tired of the city and you want to go out on one of our optional excursions, you will go up through the Wicklow Mountains. These beautiful mountains, which are on the outskirts of Dublin city, beautiful area. And you come to this sacred sanctuary, which was created by Saint Kevin. For me, it is one of the most beautiful areas I go to. And as you can see, it is an active cemetery as well. But it was created by Saint Kevin. He was a hermit, and he built it based on monastery life. It is situated on 2 lakes. So we actually do a guided tour around here. We can see there the round tower. That is one of the best preserved round towers in Ireland. And then on the left-hand side, between the trees, you might be able to see the Celtic cross. There's a huge Celtic cross here, and the beautiful walkways. And it is certainly a wonderful place to go and visit on one of our optional tours. It's only half a day, and it is well worth seeing, together with Powers Court here. This is a great example of a 19th century estate. You can see the beautifully laid out gardens and the countryside around. It is a super area to actually visit and just spend an afternoon away from the bustle of Dublin. Yeah, lots to see.
Speaking of the bustle of Dublin, from Pam here, Pam's curious, if I have free time in Dublin, what would you recommend? What should I consider checking?
Well, Pam, nice question. There's so much to see. We actually do a city tour, so you see a lot of things in the city itself. But if you want to go back and you're going to have extra time, then of course there are art galleries, more the Viking Museum. You can see St. Stephen's Green. But let me say that the most important place where everybody wants to go after they've done the sightseeing tour is heading for Temple Bar. This is a live and pulsating area with pubs and restaurants, live music until late in the night or all night as well. It's a special area, and this is the area of Temple Bar, right on the River Liffey, and all tour directors will point you in the right direction of which way to go. It's the most favorite place.
Edinburgh is certainly one of my favorite cities in Europe. It's such a wonderful, wonderful mix of old and new. Lynn, tell us why this city jumped all the way up to number 2.
Well, it's a city of Scotland. So now we're going back up from Ireland over to Scotland. So this is the one of the important cities of Scotland. As you can see in this picture, it's dominated by the Edinburgh Castle there, which is built on a volcano. There it is, absolutely beautiful. And if you just noticed in the previous slide, there was a clock face. Now that clock face is on the Balmoral Hotel. And that is always 3 minutes fast. Don't go by the time if you're there, because it's always 3 minutes fast. Because in actual fact, the Waverley train station is underneath. And since the 1900s, that has always been 3 minutes fast. It's because they don't want people to lose the train, to miss the train. So that's why they put it fast. And the only time is on New Year's Eve. That is the only time when it's set to the correct time, when it strikes midnight for Hogmanay, that they have great party, let's say, that they have celebration in Scotland. Here is a picture of the castle again. We do visit the castle. This is where Mary Queen of Scots actually bore King James VI of Scotland, who became James I of England. Magnificent to go inside, a fortified castle, and I think it is the most formidable place that I see in Scotland. Look at the rocks coming up. I mean, it hasn't been conquered very often as well. Now, leading up to the castle, we've got the Royal Mile. Now, it's a bit more than a mile, actually. They call it the mile, but it's a bit more than a mile. And I think people had drank some whiskey before they actually measured it, to tell you the truth. But it's an amazing place. It goes all the way up from Holyrood Castle, all the way up to the castle. This is a street where you want to spend a lot of time. Lots of shopping here, lots of bars, lots of whiskey tasting. This is where you buy your kilt or your tartan. And a lot of ghost stories are told here. And so a lot of the ghost tours actually leave from here as well. It's wonderful to see. And because Edinburgh is so busy and so vibrant, if you do want to get away, you pop over to Abbotsford. Now, this is the home of Sir Walter Scott. It's in beautiful, peaceful countryside, very tranquil, and it's a very special place because it reflects this incredible man's life and love for his adventures around the world. You can actually see his books, his writing material, everything that he had and owned within the home, the rooms that you visit. And you can actually see them as he left them. They are still remaining there. So it's a very, very special place to visit. And it gives a great insight into his life. And then after all of that tranquility, we can head off back to have a dram of whiskey. And here is one of the special tipples of the Scottish people, as you can see. So we can go on whiskey tasting, then do a dance, and that's when you have to wear your kilt when we get back.
Well, Lynn, we've arrived. We're here at our #1 destination. And whether you're looking for art or architecture, food or football, London has been honed into a genuinely incredible city throughout its 2,000-year history. So we've got a question from a viewer here that with this being our #1 destination, Gail wants to know, how much time do you recommend spending in London? And what are your top recommendations for activities and places there to visit?
Wow. How much time do you recommend spending in London? What can I say? A lifetime? I mean, you could spend time forever there. There is so much to see. We do a tour, of course, a sightseeing tour where we cover a lot of the main sites in London. But London why is it #1? Because probably it is the place that everybody loves and everybody wants to return to. It's a city of everybody's dreams. If they haven't been, then they would love to visit it. It's very diverse and it's very multicultural. And the activities that you can see are the theatres, there's the street markets, the shopping, the museums, the lifestyle, the bars, the pubs, lots of wonderful museums. So there's an awful lot to see. And even if you lived there a lifetime, you still wouldn't see it all. And on our sightseeing tour, this is, as I said, we cover most of the sites. This is Trafalgar Square, which is the public square in the centre of London. And here we have in the background, we have with the columns, we have the National Gallery there. And also this is the place, it's got the fountain in the middle. This is the place where the Christmas tree will stand now. So they'll be bringing in the Christmas tree very, very soon. And this is where they have the lighting of the Christmas tree. And it is given to the British people by the Norwegians every year since the World War II to say thank you and a lot of gratitude for the support that we did in the World War II, which is quite amazing. So it's really worth a trip. We have a little walk around there and a photo stop as well. You can always go back. This, of course, is the Parliament building, wonderful buildings and architecture in London. But you can see both. You can see the modern and you can also see the old. This is the Houses of Parliament. This is where the Commons and the Lords sit. This is where they decide our fate and say what laws we're going to do and what we're it's quite an incredible place. It used to be a palace, but now of course it's the seat of the House of Commons, the House of Parliament. We call it Parliament Building there in the back, but it's really nice. And here we are crossing Westminster Bridge, and there just on the side you can see Big Ben, probably one of the most photographed clocks in the world. It's under some scaffolding at the moment because they're repairing it. But let me tell you, the Big Ben is not the tower. Big Ben is the bell that is within the tower. The actual tower is called the Elizabethan Tower. And they're repairing it now. I think it's going to take quite a long time, another year, I think. It's under scaffolding, but they always leave one face where you can see. So it's on this side or the other side for your photographs as well. So it's wonderful. And there, of course, we've got these iconic red double-decker buses passing over the bridge. And opposite, on the other side of the river, we've got it's not a Ferris wheel. We don't call it a Ferris wheel. They don't like us to call it a Ferris wheel. It's an observation wheel. So there are 32 pods and it goes very, 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 very slowly around. Magnificent views over all of London if you go on it. It is very, very busy. And so up until 10 o'clock at night, it is actually still turning, but you can't really see it turning when you're watching it. It's quite incredible. And this is an area of the South Bank. And along the South Bank, if you're walking along South Bank, you can actually see the Globe Theatre, which is the replica theatre of course, Shakespeare's Globe Theatre there. And if you're lucky enough to catch a performance, that is wonderful. They've got the Tate there. So there's a lot of museums and art galleries along the way, as well as street buskers as well. Then we go on. And if you want to walk along the South Bank, you can actually get as far as the Tower of London. And this is, of course, a must on the tour. You visit it. It's one of the well-known places in London. It's one of the oldest buildings built by William the Conqueror, of course. And this is where we go to see the jewels, the crown jewels. And also this is where Anne Boleyn lost her head, Henry VIII's wife, amongst others. And it's a wonderful place to see and a lovely place. You can spend hours there and you see the ravens, which they are the residents, let's say. The raven birds, they are the residents of the Tower of London. So very interesting place to visit as well. And here we also see the palace. Now this is the Buckingham Palace, the royal residence. And it's a lovely view, this. I like this view because normally we see it and we're down straight on the ground, but here you can actually see the whole area. So when the cars go in, you'll see the Queen going in or dignitaries going in those front gates and then through those doorways. Now we can see where they actually go, because before we didn't know where they went, but they go to the back of the palace over there. Now the Queen calls this her office. She doesn't really like it as a home, and none of the kings and queens of England did. And that's why she actually spends most of her time out at Windsor Castle, which is on one of our optional tours. But, oh, we have the changing of the guard, of course. We have the changing of the guard at Buckingham Palace, and we also have it at Windsor Castle. And here you can see these lovely, these are the Queen's guards. They actually guard the palace and the Queen. They are active soldiers. They're not only just looking pretty, they do actual, go to Afghanistan or wherever they can go fighting or keep peacekeeping. And they are wearing, of course, those lovely helmets, which are the bear skins, and they look very colourful. They do the changing of the guard every morning at about 11 o'clock. If we're lucky, we catch them. If not, if it's raining, they don't like going out because it spoils their beautiful helmets. But anyway, that's a joke. But it's wonderful to see. And here is Windsor Castle, where the Queen lives. She loves it here. This is her main residence, and she feels at home here. So this is the Queen's home. We visited, and we are very, very lucky to actually do a tour. It's an optional tour, one of my favorite tours as well. We leave from London and we come down to Windsor Castle. We have a chance to walk through the gardens, walk through the grounds, around the battlements, and into the stately rooms. And we have a wonderful tour through the state rooms. And you can see all the cutlery and all the crockery that is used for her state banquets. It's very beautiful. And then we can have a little tour of the town. There's a lovely little traditional town of Windsor around. So that is an optional tour, and it is a wonderful place. Another great optional tour, of course, is down here in Stonehenge. And everybody who comes on the tours, they say, when can we go to Stonehenge? Can we go to Stonehenge? And this is a beautiful area. It's full of myths, very old, of course, probably over 5,000 years old. And we tour down here, and it's two circles of stones full of nobody knows what it was there for. Nobody knows how they were built. And so on the way back, of course, we have lots of discussions in the bus of how we think it was built, why it was there. And the surrounding area is full of burial mounds. So there's an awful lot of history here. This is right based on the Salisbury Plain in the southern part of England. So we drive for about 2 hours on the tour down, bypassing normally Oxford on the way, stopping in Oxford and then coming down to Salisbury and Stonehenge. It is a beautiful tour. And then we go back up to London, and where do we go? We go to the pub. This is a beautiful picture of the pub here. There are many pubs. Apparently there are 47,000 pubs, known pubs in the UK. And this is one of them. Look at the beautiful flowers here. Lots of watering going on, I think, to keep those up smart. This is the Churchill Arms. And the pubs only used to serve alcohol and drink. Now, of course, you can have a really, really good pub dinner there as well. So that's a really great place. And lots of people enjoy socially going to have a dinner and a drink in the pub. And many more things to talk about London, but time is an issue, I think.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your wealth of knowledge, Lyn. Man, I could sit here and just listen to you talk about all of these destinations all day long. Thank you, everybody, for sticking with us. We'll get to your questions very soon, but before we do, I just want to share a little bit about some of the tours that we offer, some of the ways that you can get to the UK and Ireland with Go Ahead. We've got 13 tours that just focus on the UK and or Ireland, and even more that incorporate some of the destinations we've seen with other locations. We have several travel styles depending on what you're looking for out of a tour to the UK and Ireland. We've got grand tours for a comprehensive tour of a destination, adventure tours for those of you that are more active and want to see things off the beaten path, food and wine tours for our connoisseurs out there, special event tours for those that want to celebrate abroad, and even solo tours for our independent travelers to meet and tour with other independent travelers. Lyn, we've got a few itineraries here that if you'd be so kind as to walk us through.
Yes, this is one of the very popular tours. Lots of bookings for next year, highlights of England, Scotland, and Ireland. And as you can see here, we're combining England, Scotland, and Ireland, and they're the highlights. So we've covered all of these in what we've been talking about. One thing I would like to say about this, you can do an extension, you can have an extension from London. So you can start your tour in London, ask go ahead and they'll set you up there. We'll stay in a lovely hotel in London and then have some sightseeing and then travel all the way up to Edinburgh. That's when you join the main tour. So if you can have those extra couple of days, it is well worth it. And then it leads to 14 days on this tour. And you do see an awful lot. You're traveling through England, Scotland, across the north of part of Wales, over to Ireland, and then covering all the places that we've seen in Ireland. It's a special tour, magical tour. And here is another one, the landscapes of Scotland and Ireland. Again, try the extension if you can, before or after Edinburgh. And here on this one, we go to the Scottish Highlands. So we see those beautiful, beautiful cattle that we saw, the red ones or the brown ones or the ginger ones, and then dropping down to Glasgow, across over there to Ireland. Now this is the grand tour, lots of bookings I know for next year as well, lots of tours, starting in London and seeing all through the area of the UK, England and Scotland. Again, wonderful, seeing cities that we've talked about, and of course there's the London extension. And after that, we've got, yes, we do the food tours. And again, here, this is great. This is just in Ireland on this one that we've chosen. Starting in Dublin, your whiskey tasting, your cheese making, you're doing a food tour in Kinsale, you're going to see a farm. So you're living the true Irish experience of food, drink, lifestyle. And here is a wonderful tour. This is a super tour, Ireland walking tour. It's one I've recently done actually, where we walk quite hard, but with spectacular countryside and views over the wild Atlantic way. And you do walk, but you know, you need a good pair of walking shoes on this tour as well. But, you know, if you want to walk a little bit and then go back to the bus, that's quite all right. So you can actually see the spectacular countryside. Here we have lots of visits to Dublin, County Cork, and then up to Galway. And this is an 8-day tour. So I'm sure that most of you can just get away from work for 8 days. It's only 8 days. It's just a week's tour. Pop over to Ireland for a week's tour. Perfect. And here we've got the Solo Travelers tour. Again, one thing I'd like to say is that I know that Andy's going to mention about the solo travels now. You're never alone. You've always got us for backup, I want to say. You're always, you know, if you choose to be alone, you can. If you want company, there's always us. And of course, your fellow travelers as well. And here on this one, you go from Dublin down to Cork and up to Galway. Again, combining a lot of the tours that we've already seen, walking, cheese tasting, whiskey tasting, etc. So it's a lot of things that one can do on this solo tour. You will never be lonely, and it'll go in 8 days very quickly.
That's right. And as Lyn was just touching on briefly, for those of you who normally travel solo or are maybe curious about solo, you can actually travel solo on all of our 190 plus tours. But the advantage of these types of solo tours is that you enjoy an included private room, and the itinerary is designed just for solo travelers. So give us a look here. And thank you again, Lyn, for sharing your wealth of knowledge. We've got a few minutes to share some live questions. Some of you have been submitting throughout the presentation. Thank you so much for sending those. We're going to get through as many as we possibly can in the short amount of time that we have. We're going to start with a question from Ken. Ken would like to know, besides the obvious foul weather gear to prepare, what gear would you recommend besides some sturdy sneakers?
So for footwear, What was the question? Sorry, Andy.
Sorry, for some gear that in addition to some sneakers, what other kind of packing tips do you think you could recommend to help travelers prepare for the unpredictable climate?
Oh, generally, well, I do suggest whatever time of year it would be, take a rainwear, just a thin mac or something, but also take layers, because as you're walking or as you're going around, you can take it off. It's much easier to use layers. Be prepared for the rain, because yes, it does rain. We are in the climate that we are in at the moment, but also be prepared for the incredible sunshine and the heat, because one never knows. I was in Ireland now in September, October, and it was 30 degrees. It was absolutely amazing. So we all stripped off, and then we all put on our rain gear when we got to another place. So it's just mixing and matching really with your gear, and very good walking shoes. They don't have to be, high heel shoes, etc. Please wear good, sturdy walking shoes. They will be an advantage for you.
I can confirm that a good solid pair of shoes on a tour like this, it can be a lifesaver. Daji would like to know, how long does it take to go around the observation wheel in London, the London Eye?
Takes about, once you get on, it goes so slowly around, it takes about 25 minutes to half an hour.
Okay, that's a solid amount of time to see those beautiful views from up high.
Oh, yes, it gives you plenty of time.
Yeah, and staying in London here, we've got an anonymous question about those iconic photo booths. Do people still use those photo booths?
Photo booths?
I'm sorry, phone booths, not photo booths. My mistake.
The phone
I misread.
Red ones, yes. Everybody goes in and out for taking photographs. You see all the tourists lining up, taking photographs with them. Yes, there are a couple that do work. They do work, and there's a special phone inside where you can actually put coins in, or you can use your credit card. But more than not, they are there mainly for people to take photographs. So it's part of the English culture.
I see. Jumping back here, we've got a question from Wayne. Is there anywhere that you could recommend lodging close to Giant's Causeway in Northern Ireland? He's interested in a sunrise and a sunset photo shoot.
Yes, there are some lovely villages next to or just about 15 minutes away from Giant's Causeway, where a lot of people stay. They're traditional little villages. So any of those, if he Googles any of them, then actually he could stay in any of those villages. It's very easy to get to Giant's Causeway. Buses are running, or he could actually walk if some of the villages were very close as well. So yes, there are spectacular sunsets there. And from there, they have been known to actually take the Northern Lights as well on certain winter days.
Lovely, lovely. Along the same topic with lodging, Jessica would like to know, she's going to London and Edinburgh, and while she's in Edinburgh, do you know of any good castles that are nearby that she could maybe spend the night in?
Gosh, again, we'll have to look at this, but if you have a look at our itinerary of castle tours, I'm sure that there are some that she would be able to stay in. They do a lot of bed and breakfasts in the castles. The castles, because they are generally owned by the state or maybe private, they won't actually admit people to stay the night. But I think that if you have a look, you can find. Mainly people will stay in bed and breakfasts in the Highlands or around Edinburgh. There's plenty of places to actually stay.
A bed and breakfast in a castle sounds magical. Wow.
Yeah, can you imagine? Lots of ghosts.
Yes. Oh man. Chad would like to know, how did Bath get its name? Did the Romans give it that name because of their bathhouses, or how did it get its name?
Bath, yes, because it's a spa. It's an old spa. There is a spring there. And so from the spring came up to baths, and the Romans found it, yes, and they developed it as a spa town. It's got therapeutical minerals in the water, and still today it is the same. So it's a bathing bath.
Susan would like to know, she may have some relatives or ancestors in Donegal in Ireland. Is there anything you would recommend that she see while she's in Donegal?
Oh, Donegal is absolutely wonderful. I was there on my last tour. It's spectacular. She can go up to Slieve League, which are the highest mountains in Ireland, let's say 2,000 meters high. Spectacular views, lots of walks. She could go further down in Donegal, and she could go to there are beautiful beaches there as well. She could go to Classbourne, see Classbourne Castle. That is where Mountbatten actually lived, and that is where he died. It belongs to a private family now, a royal family. That is also another place that she could go to see. But Donegal, actually, the whole situation of Donegal, from the Tweed mills, she could go to see those. But Slieve League is the main place where she would go up the mountains there.
Ellen would like to know, Ellen has grandchildren that are ages 3 and 7. She's curious, are there any areas that are especially fun for small children and places we've seen?
For small children, I see small children everywhere. You know, even on the cliffs, you have to be careful, hang on to them. You know, there are wonders where they can go. Giant's Causeway, they can jump from stone to stone. That's absolutely fine as well. Most of the places, and of course the cities, yes, take your children. It's a life experience, and it's something that they will always, always remember.
I love that. And our last question here today, Sheila has some questions about accessibility and mobility. Sheila wants to know what places have we seen that are perhaps wheelchair accessible or more accessible to those with mobility concerns?
Yes, well, now everything is kind of geared up to the wheelchair and make it mobile, accessible. Even the Tower of London, of course, it's difficult to actually get up to the higher levels, but she could go to see the crown jewels there in London. Streets of London, absolutely fine, even getting on and off the buses. In Scotland, again, it's quite a stretch going up to the castle, but again, you could get up to the castle. And you just don't go to the places where, you know, it would be difficult if there were lots of steps, and otherwise, if you need help to go. In Ireland, all of Dublin, fine. Even Glendalough, that sacred, beautiful sacred, the sanctuary of St. Kevin. I've had people there with mobile difficulties walking around. We help, remember, I help. And we actually do a lot with people with mobility difficulties, helping getting on and off the bus, exactly the same. We help. So I can't think of anywhere really where they shouldn't go, except, let's say, Slieve League up in the Donegal, which is very high, steep mountains, etc. like that. But other places are, always ask. I think it's a good idea to always ask, and ask where you want to go. And of course, go ahead, the office, the consultants will recommend and tell you and give you some more details as well.
Yes, we can always help here. So yes. Thank you so much, Lyn, for answering all of our questions, for sharing your knowledge with us. Thank you, everybody in the audience here, for joining us. As you can see, we have a lot of travel talks coming up. You can visit our website right there at goaheadtours.com/webinars to see what's coming up soon. Thank you again to our audience for being here. We hope you enjoyed this presentation. Keep an eye out for an email in the coming days with more tips and tricks about traveling to the UK and Ireland. Keep an eye out for that email. And thank you again, Lyn, for joining us today. Thank you all. We hope to see you on tour soon.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Hope to see you soon.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you.